Hello and welcome again to another episode of Nerf News, your number one source for Nerf news on the net. I'm your host, Drac, and with the glasses off, it doesn't look as good. I can't read. So, today we're going to be talking about why you should not pre-order the Book of Boba Fett blaster, and how it actually looks crazy dope anyway. So, the sooner I can make this news video, the sooner I can get it out to you guys, the more influential I can be in convincing you guys not to do this, just because video game world seems to have already figured this out. The pre-ordering is always just really bad for the customer. The customer gains nothing by pre-ordering and loses everything. You lose your purchasing power, you lose your ability to control the quality of the final product. Oftentimes you lose the ability to return it if you're unhappy with it. There's just a lot of consequences to pre-order culture that benefit corporations and allow them to cut all sorts of production corners and promises. The languages of those pre-orders tend to be really important, and there's no easier way to explain that than to look at major video game franchises that take in millions and millions of dollars in pre-orders. And in this case, I think at $110, the Boba Fett EE3 blaster has the ability to bring in a significant amount of revenue, effectively cutting the mold costs, the shipping costs, the operational costs off of this product entirely. And once you take all of the risk away from a manufacturer of a licensed product like this, they really have no incentive to do right by the customer, by the fans. And before this sounds too much like a hater video, this is dropping on Tuesday. Wednesday we get a new episode. I'm a huge fan of Book of Boba Fett. I didn't think I was going to be a big fan of Book of Boba Fett because it really felt like, how do we stretch the success story of The Mandalorian into future franchises, and how do we kind of milk that for all it's worth? So far, it is a compelling and different story with different stakes. I think that what, Mando and Book of Boba Fett are doing for the franchise is just unbelievably cool. I think that it's far more compelling than a lot of the Skywalker saga stuff that they're doing, and I'm very, very excited because I've heard whispers and rumors from friends of mine at Disney that some of the characters that exist in the Mando and Book of Boba Fett universe and storytelling are going to be making their way into like the theme parks and guest experiences at conventions and stuff like that. So I'm just very, very excited by this overall, and I thought that the Amban rifle was really I launched a video on it today, ironically, or yesterday. It's hard to say. I dropped it before this news dropped, and it was everybody was so negative in their responses to the Amban rifle. It was so painful watching people be sad about this thing that they spent an awful lot of money and then waited oftentimes over a year to get in their hands. There was originally, I think, like a 9-month lead time, and then it wound up being a 12-month, and now some people are still waiting. They're 14 months into their pre-order, 15 months, and they're not getting their Amban phase rifles. And that said, some of them are happy because based on a lot of my constituents who review blasters, it seems like overall sentiment on it is very poor. The paint job is atrocious. The detailing and the weathering on it is very, very poor. I'm excited for it because I'm excited for what I'm going to do with it. But even then, I've already started today in on popping some of these screw ports out, and they're solvent weld in different places, and it seems like it's going to be far more of a chore than I originally thought it was going to be. It's very disappointing on the whole and by and large. And Hasbro, having raked in tons of money, has learned no lesson in that arena. As long as we keep pre-ordering things, they're going to keep shilling us franchises that we love with art that's incredible, and giving us a product that I think ultimately is going to be behind schedule and subpar in quality. And all of the hints of that are in this press release. So let's talk about it. That's a lot of ranting. Let's try and get neutral. Find our happy place. Has anybody else seen Hook? This is my happy thought right here. She's snoozing. All right, Jinx, go back to it. And we're going to talk about this as though we're very excited about it and we haven't been lied to twice before with things like, and the jury's still out on the Needler, right? But I think that the Gallarhorn and I think that the Amban phase rifle are both pretty disappointing. Do other people have? Never mind. But as we move through, I'm trying not to edit this one, guys. We've got some images, and there's some interesting language. It says here, paint model shown, final product may vary pending licensor approval. So lots of stuff could happen between now and then. The detailing could get better, it could get worse. The licensor could remove a lot of the details from it or add details to it. And I think that the biggest thing is that they could change the color on any of this. This is not a functional product that's being shown in these photographs. This is like a this is what we would like to make. This is traditionally in a product manufacturing cycle, this is what you would show retailers to see if they would put in orders so that you could have the retailers pay for your manufacturing costs before you go to production with something like this. And if you could convince retailers who are professionals that can make an independent and informed decision, then they absorb a lot of the liability and they become the quality control, where retailers would say like, this isn't good enough, like we don't want to sell this. And all of that is pursuant to contracts. When we as customers take on that role, we don't really have any bite to fight back with if the product winds up being not as good as what was shown in, the boardroom or the meeting or what have you. And that's just a wee bit of insight into like toys. But here we have a $110 pre-order, which for a prop would be pretty fair. If you look on Etsy, for an E-33 blaster, some of the higher end ones made of metal, like certainly more expensive than this, but we're talking about a plastic one that's going to be low in detail and high in it's going to feel cheap, right? Now it's a functional prop. It does this really cool thing, and I do want to applaud Hasbro for this. It's coming with 3 of these cylinders. The cylinders lock in, trying to be as accurate to the show as they possibly can, and then they're going to fire 1 dart at a time, 4 darts as you rotate through the priming mechanism. Now you do get free shipping, but I just want to point out $110 is a ton of money. And again, really they only have to sell like, just ballparking it, if they sold 2,000 of these pre-order style, they've covered their costs of manufacturing anything, and they will sell 2,000 of them. And my hope with this video is just to make a more informed consumer, so that as you guys are looking at something like this, you can recognize that with the rollout cycle of things like the Amban face rifle, it's so incredibly clear that there's nothing exclusive about this. It's kind of being billed as like if you want this, you have to pre-order it now, and no one else will get it, and only you will, and you'll be a special boy because you gave us an interest-free loan of $110 for 15 months. Will be available to ship on approximately March 2023. That's crazy. Guys, that's longer than the production cycle of any competitor in this space. I mean, Hasbro's production cycle for products tends to be 2 to 3 years. So in their mind, they're halfway into this. They've already done the exciting part of the R&D, which is, they knew that Book of Boba Fett was going to come out. They got reference images. They designed this. They mocked this up, and they've made these paint samples. But so they're about halfway in, which means that they're moving pretty fast on this, which is how you wind up with cheaper elements if you don't have time to like really refine design like that. Then you've got the box art. The box art actually looks very handsome. There's no surprise there. That's an entire department at Hasbro for packaging design, and ironically, tends to be some of the sharpest stuff that they're doing these days is really in their packaging design. You've got Boba Fett written on the other side of the box, and if you only are buying this as like a display piece, this is a handsome display piece. The art is great. It looks like it's embossed in different places. Really true to the show. As you come down, it says, with his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry, and silent demeanor, Boba Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy. Which is true in the original trilogy. He's talking a lot more now. Says compatible with Nerf Elite darts, as it has to be. Says to fire a dart, load a drum, prime, and pull the trigger. I don't know if the prime is being articulated in any of these photos, like where that's going to be. I don't see anything that's like a direct indicator of what the prime would be. I'm assuming it's this backstrap piece here is going to be something that you kind of like pull back. But again, like we've learned from the Amban rifle, right, that like performance isn't the focus here. Elite standard or less, like 50 FPS, they're happy with something like that. Now, I do want to applaud them. The Amban rifle is a little short for the show. It's close, but it's no cigar. At 30 inches, this is pretty close. Boba Fett's blaster is really compact. It is in the original trilogy, and it is in Book of Boba Fett. His pistol, which gets very little screen time in Mandalorian, but I think is a very unique silhouette, is something that we've been working on in-house here at Eighth or Not. I'm honestly just thrilled that they went with the E-33 as opposed to doing that so that we can have something kind of unique to share with you guys in the coming few days here. But at 30 inches, I think that this is an accurate sizing. Includes 3 drums, which is nice. You would think that they would only include 1. So that's actually, there are some perks that, can justify that $110 price point, especially since this is such a smaller prop. than things like the Amban or the Galahorn. It's clear that Hasbro just kind of wants to milk us anytime they do something like this for a $100 sale, because I'm sure that that's where they've decided the super fan is willing to spend. And if you look at the last 10 years of like toy sales, both with things like the Dart Zone Pro launch and things like Kickstarter launches and etc. and so forth, that seems to be a pretty good price resistance sort of marker. So clearly they know what they're doing. They're like, okay, a super fan of either Nerf or Book of Boba Fett is willing to spend about $100. Doesn't come with batteries, which is heckin' lame on a premium product. Like, it just do better. I mean, that one's easy, like, especially when you've done better in the past. Includes 12 darts, so exactly enough darts. The darts are unique. They're these, like, heckin' radical gold darts that blend into the cylinder pretty seamlessly. I'd like to see more of that on premium products where the industrial design and the aesthetic design really mate. But you got free shipping as long as you're in the contiguous United States. And that's another thing that, like, comes up a lot with premium products and even specialty products. I don't fault them for that. Shipping in the U.S. is much easier than shipping internationally for a lot of toy blaster related products. We see that trying to get knockoffs overseas imported, and we see that a lot when, like, you know, we're doing events in the UK and Europe and such, and they can't get access to like Proline products and such. So that I'm not gonna hold that against them. I think it's lame because they distribute to, you know, 40 nations, and there would be no one could do it easier than they could, but it is what it is. This one was just delightful to me as I scrolled down. They're like, premium deco, and they put it in quotes. They literally put it in quotes. Premium deco. Oh goodness. So I mean, I'm sure that the eventual E-33 is going to ship in white and not, you know, traditional Boba Fett colors. It's also funny to mention that, like, you got to remember they did a Boba Fett blaster rival tie-in that was just like a cheesy repaint. And if they use that same paint scheme, I think that this will be very handsome. But I don't know, we got a white Amban rifle, and that's pretty rough in a lot of ways. So we've got, with colors inspired by Boba's unmistakable armor, this blaster is a fantastic addition to any Star Wars collection. So while it's not, you know, a screen accurate by any representation E-33, if it's easy to disassemble, and hopefully it's easier than the Amban rifle, this has a lot of prop potential for things like Star Wars Celebration and the like. As far as, you know, this color scheme, I'm happier with this color scheme than I am with the one in the Amban rifle. But to call this premium deco is a little, you know, I mean, they just have to know. They just have to know that they're lying, and then they do it anyway. I mean, the dry brushing and the pseudo kind of weathering on the Amban rifle really did look like a silver Sharpie was taken to it for about 10 seconds, and they said good enough. And beyond that, like, most of this isn't paint work, right? This is mold work. That they're inspiring and shipping as premium deco. So that's a little frustrating. They do mention once again that it's a 1-to-1 scale. I've no doubt that the ID guy at Hasbro was allowed to at least use specific or custom reference images, or even get the CAD from the Book of Boba Fett prop master. So I believe that this is a pretty good toy version. Again, Star Wars is such a huge cosplay, roleplay, fantasy environment and universe that you can always find somebody who obsessed over it and did 300 hours of CAD on Etsy. And then with the, you know, advent of 3D printing and resin printing, you could make a better version for around this price point, but you would have to already have those machines. Alternatively, you could buy the model or buy a print. Now, again, like, if you're just a collector, I don't fault you. Like, this looks good in its packaging. This is a sharp, packaging forward premium product. Now, they mentioned that with a beautiful blaster comes beautiful packaging to match, and I agree. I mean, I agree. I think that this is really terrific packaging. I think it's better than the Mandalorian packaging, and the only thing that's going to come up there is, depending upon how you order it and who you order it from, the packaging is going to get destroyed when it's shipped to you. I know that my Amban package was very poorly packaged, and it was not, you know, display quality, display ready packaging. And that's something that comes up in Collector's World a lot with things like figures. Like, you really want your blister pack to be a 10, so that when you display it, it looks very fresh. Now, there's an entirely different toy guy in me who's like, I buy these things to play with them, and I don't really care about the packaging. The packaging winds up, you know, in the recycling bin pretty quickly. But for the people who do care and represent a large part of the audience who are willing to pay $100 for a premium product like this. This is pretty tight. So I think that the packaging is a big win. I think that the scaling is a big win. I think that the paint is honestly pretty neutral. And again, all of it is subject to change. So it's like really dangerous to pre-order. We've got It's Nerf or Nothing, which is ridiculous these days. But, I mean, listen, stick to your guns. But 12 darts, 3 cylinders. If you are going to play with it, you're going to have enough that you could use it. That said, you're probably firing 50, 60 FPS. So it's not really a take it to a war kind of thing. It's like a role play at the convention and have a battle in full armor kind of thing. And as someone who has had multiple Nerf battles in full armor, I've done it in Mjolnir armor, I've done it in Destiny armor, I've done a lot of Nerf battles in armor. You just don't want to do it. It's clunky. It's really hard to see stuff, and it's no fun falling if you trip in those boots. And then they do mention that they have electronic features, but I think that it's very clear that the electronic features in the Amban rifle were anemic. And while they're like, this is integral to Star Wars, I think that the sounds in the Amban rifle were pretty good. Would have been nice if they were dynamic, not just a single sound bite. And the lighting is pointless. Hiding a single LED inside a scope that doesn't line up with anything is a little frustrating to be packaged as a premium option. I think that there are certainly better ways to give value to the consumer there, but I'm not going to do Hasbro's job for them. So that said, this is a $110 pre-order, and you probably shouldn't pre-order it because it's very clear that retailers both in and outside the country pick these up, have distribution cycles for them, and the exclusivity of it, we've been burned once and we know better now. Like, you will be able to pick this product up and you will get it faster than the pre-ordered versions if you go through someone like Amazon or GameStop or something like that. I cannot even tell you how frustrating it has been over here because pretty much everybody at Aethernaut ordered an Amban rifle, and 2 of us got them quickly. One of us is still waiting to date, and one of us canceled their pre-order and ordered it on Amazon and got it like that. The packaging was also destroyed. So, like, you've got to weigh all of these different factors, but at the end of the day, this is like a cautionary Nerf news. This thing exists. Honestly, I think it's awesome. I think it's great that they're revisiting the EE3 and the Boba Fett brand for a cool blaster product. I look forward to reviewing it. I am such a massive fan of the franchise that I can't say no to these. Like, I just love Star Wars. But I think that the pre-order process in general is bad for the consumer. And to that end, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I will not be pre-ordering this product. I think that that's insane as someone who, is very vested and invested in pre-ordering product, getting product as soon as you possibly can so that I can, make review content for you guys and serve my audience in that form and fashion. But not only am I convinced that I'll get it faster if I wait for it from a secondary source, but also I just can't in good faith support this process. I mean, it's strictly bad for us. It allows us to get subpar products like the Amban rifle, and it leaves us very little recourse in the event that we feel slighted or shilled. So that's my take. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of the Boba Fett blaster. Again, I got nothing against it. I think that it's really cool. I just wish that we were doing this as a traditional release where, they worked in advance and launched it maybe closer to the end of the season, and it was like, okay, you buy it, you get it. Because at the end of the day, there's no reason that a toy manufacturer should be doing limited release, pre-order, 12-month wait times. It's really just a tricky way to defer the costs and the liabilities onto the consumer, and that's really not our responsibility as fans. Anyway, that's my hot take. That's my 10 cents. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I have this is going to be a 3-video day. I don't think I've had a 3-video day in a very, very long time because I wanted to launch my Mando Amban rifle review. Then this happened, so this is news that I'm gonna drop, and then I have a exclusive North American review of an unreleased product in our region coming out. That's pretty comprehensive, and we're working on parts for that right now. And then later on tonight, I think I'm streaming Apex Legends. So if you want to hang out with me on Twitch, we can talk more about this. We can talk more about the toy industry. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Thank you guys so much for watching. Much love. Blast on. Drac out.